Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Allincrypto here, and today I am going to be talking about the Internet Computer ICP, and we are going to be starting the video off by going down a bit of a rabbit hole that involves AI. I didn't make a video on this when I saw it. I kind of stewed on it for a bit, but I'm going to be obviously making that video now. And of course, we will be recapping on the price of ICP. It's very much following the technical roadmap that we set out for it. It's progressing nicely, and there's a kind of fundamental narrative that I think is really driving this recent move that relates to the rabbit hole that we're going to go down at the start of the video. So without further ado, before we get into the price and everything, let's talk about the rabbit hole that I'm referring to. And the rabbit hole is to do with the tweet that we had from Dominic Williams, the kind of, I believe, one of the founders of Dfinity, and of course ICP. And ICP has been something that's been in the works for a long time. You know, I'm really getting on board with this concept of the internet computer. There's been attempts at this previously, before crypto was even a thing, but with the application of distributed ledger, this can actually now be enabled. And Dominic Williams last week actually tweeted about a world first, a demonstration of AI running on blockchain as a smart contract. Now, this quite literally is a world first. So ICP, the interesting thing about the internet computer is it is a bottom-up protocol that is entirely self-sufficient. So there's an irony in the cryptocurrency space right now in the fact that the majority of hardware infrastructure that actually enables a lot of these blockchains like Ethereum to work is actually institutional and legacy systems, kind of centralized systems like Amazon Web Services and all these others. If you look at, for example, Ethereum's nodes, a lot of them leverage, I think it's 30% of Ethereum nodes are on Amazon Web Services, similar with Cardano, and then it's kind of less on other sort of centralized services. But Amazon Web Services has the lion's share, really. And this is kind of introducing a centralized element to what is supposed to be breaking away from centralization and kind of giving power back to the people. And ICP, I think, in my opinion, is the first bottom-up blockchain that actually doesn't utilize any institutional centralized services. It's entirely done on the Internet Computer Protocol, which for me makes a lot of sense. It's true to the ethos of crypto. And actually, relating this back to the rabbit hole that we're about to go down, this was announced last week that they've essentially enabled AI, an intelligence model, to be able to do image identification. Okay, now that seems very primitive. We know AI is a lot further than that, but the unbelievable fact is that this is entirely done on the Internet Protocol. So there's no leveraging Amazon services, leveraging these computing services or these data services, all done on the Internet Protocol. And that is a world first, and that's huge. And that is something that can be built upon and grown in a world where AI is going to become central to everything. It is going to actually impact thought itself, which you could argue is, and the need for decentralizing AI is perhaps more important than decentralizing money and a store of value itself. So what Bitcoin does. I mean, you can actually make that argument because in the world that we're moving towards, what role is money going to play? If you look at what money kind of is already, I mean, it's kind of like something that's just made up at this point. And it's all about thought. And for example, Bitcoin, why is Bitcoin valuable? Let me ask you that question. And I want to know your comments in the comment section. And you'll get people like Michael Saylor saying, oh, well, it's because of the energy or the hash power or this or that. Well, the real reason I believe Bitcoin is valuable is because people believe it to be so. Beauty is always in the eye of the beholder. And if the beliefs that people derive are derived from what's out there, so we're just a constant loop of input and output, and if the input that we get comes from AI, and I believe in the world we're moving towards, it's going to be more and more the case, this absolutely needs to be decentralized. So it's a massive narrative that I think we're yet to kind of see. And where I'm going with this is Dominic Williams announced this last week, and very shortly after, SingularityNet, Fetch, and Ocean Protocol announced the first 7.5 trillion. Maybe it might get there eventually in the future. Who knows? We're not calling that, by the way. But they announced a coalition of the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance, where these three coins are going to merge into ASI. And the interesting thing was This, of course, is very interesting in itself. We've done a longer video on this. This is huge. I was actually a holder of 2 of these and my entire Patreon where we were bullish on them technically. And of course, this is the news that's been driving them. You don't know that because insiders know it, but what you do know is what's happening in the charts and what that's predicting, just like we're going to take a look at for ICP. But the really interesting thing here was if we scroll down, Bitcoin hoodie guy actually asked, will it be cross-chain or what chain will it live on? And actually Ben Goertzel, who's heading this whole thing, replied and he said cross-chain including ETH, FET layer 1, so FET is a Cosmos SDK, it lives on the Cosmos space, ADA and Hypercycle, plus more including likely ICP. So is there a bit of an overlap with Dominic Williams coming out and saying, and I am speculating here, I have no concrete evidence for this, I want to make that apparently clear, but you know, applying thinking to markets is ever needed, you know. But the interesting thing is this came out showcasing AI facilitated on ICP, and actually these guys that are going to create the biggest not ICP play, the biggest AI play in the entire crypto space, actually are looking to deploy and utilize ICP as a part of facilitating the artificial superintelligence. Is there an overlap there? Maybe, perhaps. If you look at SingularityNet, if you look at Fetch, if you look at Ocean, they need resources. They need infrastructure. It's this concept of deep in. And actually, ICP offers a lot of that. And I think ICP is going to have a massive AI narrative behind it. That's the rabbit hole that I want to go down and sort of have gone down with you guys. Very timely, both of these, weren't they? They happened in the same week, and this happened just before obviously the announcement, and we're getting confirmation from Ben Goertzel himself that actually ICP is going to likely play a role in all of this. You know, they're his kind of words himself, a likely ICP. Very, very interesting. Let's talk about ICP from a price point of view. You guys will all be hopefully up to date now on the price prediction that we gave for the Internet Computer, where we saw it going to $200. Now, that is what technically we can see merit in. Remember, we're in a smaller pattern that's giving us that $24 price prediction that we are very much progressing towards. Let's dive over to the charts. There's a number of technical things that I look at when I look at a market. So my big overview, and we are deriving courses around all of this, is really breaking the market down into 4 stages, identifying those stages. Stage 1 is a base, stage 2 is an uptrend, stage 3 is a top, stage 4 is a downtrend. There's a set of criteria and rules that you need to apply to each one to help you spot them. You know, we look at things like bullish divergences and things like that in regards to downtrends and the mending, whatever. We're not going to go down that route too much. We're going to save all that for when we release the courses. But this was a stage 1 base in a double bottom-esque form. You had the breaking of that stage 1 base, confirming a stage 2, which is now an uptrend on the biggest volume really ICP has ever seen. Since then, you consolidated, and then you had, this was a really tricky pattern, certainly for me trading it. I actually got faked out on this downside only for it to go in the direction and actually made the target of this pattern up here. But this is going to turn around and continue and head to that $24 mark, in my opinion, like we set out for it technically. Once it gets there, you want to see an interaction, just like we're seeing with a total 2 of this level, a small pullback before you then enter that $200 target. And remember, we have the entire macro thesis of liquidity coming back into markets through the Federal Reserve and bonds. And we also have internal crypto analysis like the total market cap, excluding Bitcoin, in the form of the total 2, which we believe is going to go to $3.7 trillion. It's currently at 1.2. That's a 3x. ICP is likely going to be a big beneficiary of all of that. And I think relating things back to the rabbit hole that we went down at the start, there's going to be a massive, we've sort of explained the importance of it, a massive AI ICP narrative, deep in narrative. It makes a hell of a lot of sense, ICP. And when you relate that with technically what we've just looked at, so you've got fundamentals and you've got technicals. We don't buy things necessarily on fundamentals. We buy things on technicals, because something can be amazing fundamentally and not do anything if the right people aren't behind it. And we can spot the right people behind something based on things like volume, based on obviously the charts, which is why we're technical analyzers. And you've got this really nice bullish picture painted for ICP from a technical point of view. And we've just spoken about one element. We're really talking about AI here, but there's this whole deep in narrative, and things like compute and data storage are going to become like commodities. They're going to almost become like the oil of the future, the digital world that we're moving towards. And ICP can kind of offer and facilitate all this in one protocol that is scalable due to this kind of sharding. Can I call it sharding? Their canister system. which is essentially paralyzes, instead of doing everything on one blockchain or one layer one, like we see on Ethereum, and we see the issues there with gas and stuff like that, you've had the need for the whole layer two space. ICP kind of has that built in with its paralyzed system. So it can basically, what would be the right word here? It always has layer twos and sort of roll ups and things like that built into its protocol to help it scale. So it's got the application to be able to facilitate things like deepin. It's got the infrastructure, it's got the software, it's got the hardware, it's got everything, and it's scalable, and it's got smart contracts, and it's decentralized. You know, it's a real complete package, and I just wanted to share that in this video. As it is Easter, we're not going to ramble on for too much longer. That was the video. If you've enjoyed it, a like is always appreciated. So as a comment, let me know. Do you think there's a bit of overlap here between what Fetch, AGIX, and Ocean are doing, and ICP? Quite timely. Even if there isn't, and that is just pure speculation, we are bullish on ICP, and it's very much following the roadmap we set out for it. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. Have a happy Easter, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.